My images are all based on photographs that I've taken, so they're from a real scene that's happened, and I'm interested in the photographic visual language of a picture. So a lot of times it's literal. The composition is literal. I'll tweak it. I'll change it, at different ways. But in that regard, I've got a foot in reality in the work. And then the more painterly aspects of it bring it into kind of the dream state. I'll take a lot of photos, and I never know if any of them are going to be a painting. And I think that's where the shadow came from, is that I would mine my photo library, and I would look through and try to find things that I thought were interesting compositions to turn into paintings. And most of the things with the shadow in it, or any kind of reflection, appealed to me. And so any of the images that I've made paintings out of, meditating on them longer, really analyzing them for their compositional values, even thinking about what the narrative might be, what it actually is and what it might be, or how it could be perceived, all of those things together, it's a way for me as a painter to really enjoy the photographic experience. I'm very interested in how we as a culture, as a society, are constantly creating images, and we are exposed to images on a rate that has never been done before. Everybody's doing it, selfies, taking pictures of what they want to be their ideal, and sharing it with as many people as will look at it and making comments on it. And so I like this idea that this is a part of our time. It's very unique to our time. We live in the information age, and that's what separates us as artists from artists of other ages, that this is a reality of our society and our environment. And imagery in itself is, it replaces memories. These pictures of the birthday party or the new car suddenly replace a lot of the feeling as the years go by, and you refer to a photo. This happens with parties, and especially weddings and these kinds of things, where that suddenly the imagery that you remember most about that day or that experience is the photo. And it's kind of mind-boggling that you give up. We give up a lot of actual memory for the visual that we can rely on to remind us of what the memory was. I mean, and we do it with a lot of our memory when we Google and Wikipedia things, and we don't have to remember as much because we can just refer to it in half a second with the device that's in our pocket. And so a picture and a painting kind of acts as that aid as well. It becomes a memory for something. I like that somebody could look at a painting and that it would feel narrative at first glance, but the more they look at it, they realize that there's a lot of unresolved things. And I think what we do as people who look at art is bring in a resolve. The Jungian theory of the shadow, which essentially is the all of the things that we repress in our lives as we're growing up. It sort of works in tandem with the ego. As we're developing our ego in life, we also develop the shadow. The shadow has in it all of the things that we've repressed that are socially unacceptable. And if you embrace it too much, if you allow that shadow to take you over and to be a larger part of your ego, then you could end up being a menace to society. You could end up doing these things that are socially unacceptable. The shadow is there for a reason, and so you don't necessarily want to take on the whole thing. I think the figures meet their own shadow in the paintings as mostly as an aesthetic form, but my paintings are open to interpretation, and I like ambiguity in the work to the point that the viewer brings to it their own thoughts and feelings. So I think when the viewer looks at the work and sees the person that's in it and the shadow, they're having that experience with the shadow as much, if not more, than the figure itself in the painting.